Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video. This one's not going to be a straight up programming video. We're going to be going over the red flags of freelancing clients that have experienced through lots of programming jobs of various complexities and plenty of different breadths of people. I'm going to be discussing 3 major red flags that I've noticed that if you see a client or start experiencing one of these during your project or before your project, it's something you should really look out for and either have an escape strategy or just be totally out of the project if you haven't began it. Before we get started, I do want to remind you down below to hit subscribe and the bell icon to be notified of when new videos are coming out twice weekly on the channel. And down in the description you can follow me on Instagram and GitHub to get live updates of when code goes live for other projects and for other cool things. And of course you can join the Discord to get help with scripting, extensions, plugins, and expressions. You can help answer other people's questions or ask questions of your own. So again, remember, most of these red flags are things you're going to see either before the project begins when you're in the planning phase or partway through the project. These aren't things you're really going to see near the end of a project because if you've made it that far, you've had a pretty good client. Number 1 is promising future work or future payments when you haven't even began the first one. While it's extremely common for almost all clients to sort of get you going by talking about, oh, the possibilities of this script or extension we're working on, it's going to bring up so much future work for us. But you do really want to focus on the first immediate project rather than worrying about future things. And this is because you want to establish trust and that you have skill in what you're doing. But you mainly want to look out for this if they're already talking about it before you've even closed the deal on whatever your first project together is. If you're still in the discussion stage and in your head have a sort of vague but still need to put together a vision of what they want, and they're already talking about different ideas of this is what we're going to be doing in the future after this, after we're done with this project, and then this is going to happen, and there's going to be more and more financial opportunities. Things like that is a major red flag to watch out for, and it usually means that they're going to try and get you to do a lot of work for not very good pay. And along those lines, promising to have a lower pay in the beginning and then pay higher later on as more projects come about after their success of their startup or whatever it may be, you should not assume that this is going to happen. So never accept lower payment up front if they're promising lots more work in the future or lots more payment in the future. They need to understand your value up front and understand that the value you provide is going to be consistent, if not getting better, every single project you work on. And one thing to note is don't go overboard with just rejecting all people who want to talk a lot about their vision, because sometimes if you have been working together for some time, or you're nearing completion of one of your first projects together, then they may start getting excited because of the success they've seen. So don't just always say no to a project or start preparing to have something bad happen just because they're talking a lot about it, but do be aware of it. Number 2, skipping over questions or things you ask them. This isn't something that happens as common, but sometimes with some older clients, I guess I could bunch them into, but I really shouldn't. Some people just choose not to debug or find out what is going on wrong with the script or extension or whatever you're working on. They expect it to work perfectly, and these aren't very good clients to deal with, of course, but you can't always foresee whether or not they're going to be this picky about feedback. Basically, if you send them instructions, whether it be a video or text instructions about how to debug something, whether it be, hey, can you take a screenshot of this folder structure so I can make sure everything is being generated correctly, or just ask for a video recording or something simple like that, and then you find that they continually avoid your question after you've asked them specifically that many times, sometimes I would note that if you're having detailed discussions on lots of things that need to be fixed or lots of details, then it can get lost in there. So make sure that if they're not responding, it's when you're directly only talking about what feedback is required or whatever they're failing to report. Like I said, some clients are just weird and will refuse to do some sorts of testing. It's not like a privacy thing or they feel like they're going to get hacked or something. It's some people just have arrogance in terms of they expect you to be perfect, understand exactly what they have in their head, and they expect it to work perfectly. When in reality, sometimes you're dealing with a client with an extremely old operating system. They might have a totally different version of an Adobe program that your extension or script or whatever is working for, and you might not even know that. So it might take a few back and forths just to get a couple of initial things set up. And one more thing further along those lines that I've had happen once to me, it was actually in the previous freelancing video I discussed where I was talking about bad clients. One of those people, they sent me false feedback and information. I had sent them a script which would basically pop up alerts letting me know how far in the script it was getting, what variables were valid and not, because I was trying to figure out why it wasn't getting past a certain point. So I was just seeing where it was getting up to, and they purposely did not send me the correct video. They sent me a video from a few weeks back from a totally different version of the script we had been working on, and when I messaged them back to say, hey, can you please install this version of the script or use this version and record a newer video, they completely freaked out and refused. So that's a very rare thing, but if someone is sort of deceiving you and you can point out little things that show that, hey, this isn't the right version, can you please make sure you do that, and they still refuse, definitely consider getting out. And number 3, sudden or massive changes somewhere near the middle of the project. Of course, it's important to establish all of the details of whatever you're going to be working on together up front and make sure that both of you have a clear understanding of both the timeline, how you work together, if you're going to be very communicative or not, as well as the details of what exactly their project needs to be, because as a programmer or as a script writer or whatever you may be, you need to be able to have that translation to translate from what the business side of things is saying over to the programming language and thus a script or extension. And I've had this happen surprisingly more often than not, where in the middle of a project, a client decides they want to make a giant change to the project and take a full 180, go totally the other direction, whether it be on their own advice or on the advice of some other programmer or person they work with. And I've even had people want to transition to totally new projects before completing a single one. So I've had clients talk about, 4 projects that we want to do. We want to have 4 scripts, one that does this, this, and this, similar but different. And sometimes before one is even complete, they just want to drop an old one and move on to the next one. I don't think this is the greatest way to work, and you should definitely be careful of it, because if you're just going to be accepting partial upfront payments for each one of these products and then they're going to move on to the next, they're just going to sort of be mining out most of the value that they can out of you while not paying you all the way. And it should be noted that this is somewhat discretionary and that you are the best judge for if they're pivoting too far from what you originally discussed. If they're starting to talk about totally different things and nothing about an incomplete project, then perhaps they're going too far. But if they're really just talking about a whole new suite of features for the same product, it may not be too far. And lastly, if they are going to make massive changes and you agree to it, make sure they understand that it has a cost to it. And make sure you do a proper analysis of what that value needs to cost so that you can make the proper amount of profit. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Those are my 3 red flags of freelancing to look out for, whether it's beginning, middle, or getting even close to the end sometimes of some projects. Hopefully these will help you out to avoid dealing with bad clients up front and to help get out of projects that are going to go south. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Down below, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it to be notified of new videos coming out twice weekly on the channel. In the description, you can also follow us on GitHub and Instagram to get code updates as well as updates of when videos go live. Don't forget to join the Discord, where you can get help with scripting, extensions, plugins, expressions, and much more, and help out the community and ask any questions you have. Thanks again for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.